Hello everybody, and welcome to What's Been Playing, the show where we put a spotlight on select video games and answer the lifelong question of, what is really worth playing? It is time to get to the good stuff, and I am very excited to review today's game, Super Mario Bros. 3, Mario's last platforming romp on the NES. Now, there's no secret that this game is easily one of the most popular games on the NES, as well as one of Mario's most memorable adventures. I have so many fond memories of playing this game as a kid with friends and my dad, as well as playing this game solo, so I kinda know what I'm getting myself into for today's episode. But all of these years later, is this game still worthy of being able to contend with the quality of some of Mario's 3D outings that followed? Well, I think it is just about time that we found out. I really didn't have a lot to say during this intro because if I'm being perfectly honest, I kinda just want to get to playing. That's how excited I am to take a look at this. But without further ado, let's hop straight into it. Let's take a look at Super Mario Bros. 3. So, following the release of Super Mario Bros. 2, people were left pretty satisfied. It was different, but still had the fun factor that a Mario game should have. But before long, gamers were looking for another title to ease their Mario fix, and with how successful the last games were,
I am inevitable.
With that knowledge in mind, Nintendo began working on another sequel not long after Super Mario Bros. 2 hit store shelves in 1986. That is, the Japanese version. I didn't know this fact prior to researching the development of Super Mario Bros. 3, but apparently the game was originally developed with an isometric point of view in mind. Think of something like the Diablo games with how the camera is positioned at a view that isn't entirely top-down. But in development, the team noted that it was too hard to accurately time jumps and such with that kind of camera. After 2 years of close communication between Miyamoto and the development team, Super Mario Bros. 3 was born and saw release in Japan in 1988. But everyone outside of Japan kinda got the short end of the stick. It wouldn't be until 2 years later until the game would release in America, and 3 years until it would release in Europe, where it released in 1991. But we probably got one of the coolest announcements for a game at the time. The game wouldn't be fully unveiled to American audiences until December of 1989, where it was shown off in what was essentially a movie-length commercial, The Wizard. The movie involves this huge video game competition, and as the competition's final game, as well as the climax of the movie, you guessed it, it was Super Mario Bros. 3.
Super Mario Brothers 3!
If that isn't one of the coolest ways to unveil a game, I don't know what is. Have you ever seen that video of the unveiling of Twilight Princess at E3? I couldn't think of any other games that had such humongous reveals as these two. In February of 1990, everyone in America was finally able to experience this game for themselves, and it didn't take long for this game to garner some overwhelmingly positive reception. The game was essentially praised as being one of the best games of all time at the time of its release. Some great graphics for the time, tight gameplay, loads of replayability, great music. Nintendo really went all out with this one. And the game would of course receive tons of different ports over the years on both portable and home consoles too, which was great for introducing the game to newer audiences like I was. And I'm not kidding, this game was a pretty big deal. I mean, everybody at the time just unanimously agreed that this game was just one of the best games out there, and that's saying something, you know? But after the entire Super Mario Bros. 2 charade, what kind of platforming adventure are we exactly looking at here? Well, I'm happy to say that the game goes back to the formula established in the first game, but soups it up by a fuck ton. Anything you can think of that was in Super Mario Bros., there's a ton more of it here. It's a souped up Super Mario Bros. Well, let's get to that plot summary, shall we? Well, as you would expect, Bowser is up to no good again, and this time, with the help of his minions, the Koopalings, who made their debut here, begin to wreak havoc across the many kingdoms in the Mushroom World, according to the booklet. As Mario, your job is to travel through 8 different locations, stop the Koopalings, and return the magic wands back to their kings as the Koopalings have stolen them and use their magic to turn said kings into different animals. And of course, there's a King Koopa to stop. Pretty standard Mario fare. During this adventure, Mario will be trekking through a variety of different landscapes. This game was actually the debut of a lot of level themes that we would see in future titles, like grassland, desert, water area, sky, you know the drill. Each world has their own unique challenges that come with it, whether it's environmental or with its layout. Each level, of course, also still retains that linear style with a few instances to go underground or into the sky. But there are some times where the game likes to give you multiple means of reaching the end, which is really refreshing. Every world keeps you on your toes, and there never feels like there's a dull moment. I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same way, but my favorite world is probably Big Island. I don't know what it is, but I like all the large enemies, pipes, and blocks. It's pretty fun. Some gimmicks, though, are a little annoying. Like the abundance of bottomless pits in The Sky, a very creative name for the world, I must say. Or the ice physics in Iceland, which just give me anxiety. And all of these challenges lead to the final world, which pretty much just looks like hell, featuring a plethora of Bowser's army and hands that don't really respect Mario's personal space. As you can see here, each world has their own world map, featuring a set path or paths sometimes towards the end and housing all the levels you'll head to. Besides said levels, you'll come across fortresses, which will have you traversing a variety of unique challenges and enemies, as well as fighting against Boom Boom, the easiest fight in video game history. Just look at this. Only the best for Bowser's army. These mushroom houses will give you the chance to get an item to equip later, which can be accessed by pressing B on the world map screen, pipes, which can take you to other parts of the map, these mini-games, which can help you net some extra power-ups or lives. There's also more rare occurrences like white mushroom houses, which will usually give you some more rare items, or the coin chip, but meeting the requirements to unlock them are kinda specific, and I've never encountered them. Additionally, you'll find these enemies walking around the overworld, which will bring you into a battle, but if you manage to beat them all, you'll net yourself an item. And lastly, there are the castles, which is how you access one of Bowser's many airships. The map starts out pretty linear, but the farther you get into the game, the worlds only get larger with more challenges ahead, so this game definitely takes longer to beat than the first few games. Something that I don't understand for the life of me is why this game doesn't have a save feature. For a game of this length, it's really hard to expect someone to beat it in one run without turning the system off. I mean, at this point in the NES's life cycle, there were a good amount of games that had battery-powered saves, or at the very least, passwords. Levels will focus on a variety of different challenges as previously mentioned, whether it's just normal obstacles Mario has to face, pure platforming segments, etc. Unfortunately, one of the new types of levels added are auto-scrolling levels, and auto-scrolling levels are up there for me with grinding and unnecessary backtracking as some of my least favorite game design elements. I just hate having to wait for the screen to move so I can keep moving. I just want to keep going. Levels in this game are pretty short, so you'll get to see a bunch of different level ideas and concepts pretty quickly, which is pretty refreshing. Usually short levels might pose a problem to some, but with how many there are here, it's not. It definitely would have been nice to have a checkpoint in some of those longer levels though. There were times where I would have to replay an entire level multiple times because I would always die near the end, and it was especially worse in auto-scrolling levels because I couldn't just make a mad dash back to where I was. At the very least, each level you'll be running through is extremely lively with a gorgeous amount of background detail in each level. Levels have a lot of detail to them, and the sprites for Mario & Co. as well as the enemies you face look great for NES standards. At least on a graphical level, this game still looks fantastic. If it wasn't obvious to tell from the title screen, Super Mario Bros. 3 is almost set up like a play, with a lot of the stage looking like it's being held up by something, or how the end of the level kind of fades to black, almost like you're going off stage. It is a very neat take on the world Mario is traveling through, but I hope that workers' comp exists here because I sure as hell wouldn't want to be hopping around pools of lava on stage. Maybe Mario and Luigi have stunt doubles. The music is also just as fantastic as the way this game looks. There are more level themes to go around this time, and if you thought the soundtracks to Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2 were catchy, you haven't heard anything yet. This game is jam-packed with bouncy, funky chiptune songs that are bound to leave them stuck in your head for a while. Especially the overworld themes, boss themes, or some of the unique themes that play in each world's map screen. Overall, some amazing stuff here. Kondo has once again knocked it out of the park. Rather than reaching a flagpole at the end, you'll be headbutting into these cards at the end of each stage. Depending on your timing, you'll receive either a mushroom, fire flower, or star card. Filling up these 3 spaces at the bottom with any of the cards nets you a life. But if you're able to get 3 in a row of the same card, you'll get a pretty nice set of extra lives, especially if you get 3 star cards. Luckily, Mario controls just how he did last time and how you would expect him to, if not controlling a little better honestly. I definitely felt like it was easier to land jumps and break loose a little bit when traversing levels where I otherwise would have played it safe in the previous games. I think that the best way to describe it is that Mario feels a bit more floaty this time around, which can sometimes cause you to overshoot a jump on rare occasions, but it makes it way easier to know where you're going to land and make sure that you can land. But an addition that I absolutely love is that by holding down the jump button, Mario will bounce higher off of an enemy, which is something I had to remind myself wasn't a thing in older games. Mario is also now able to pick up Koopa shells as well as other select objects now, which is pretty nice. You can throw them at other enemies and blocks, and it's pretty satisfying. Located at the bottom of the screen is your score counter, which houses your score of course, how many lives and coins you have, the time left in a level, and your P meter. That's right, Mario has a piss meter now. Nah, just kidding. As Mario gathers speed, the meter will go up, and once it's full, it'll stay full for a little bit, allowing Mario to run really fast, jump higher, and think he's an airplane.
I'm going to fly for you.
And of course, power-ups make their comeback from the first game, and we have ourselves some new ones to toy around with this time around as well. Of course, you have the returning Super, 1-Up Mushrooms, the Fire Flower, and the Star, which for some reason makes Mario think he's Sonic whenever he jumps when he has one. The first of the new power-ups you'll undoubtedly come across is the Super Leaf, turning Mario into Raccoon Mario. And it's quite an... Well, what do we have here? This is Peter Agent X. The target has been found. He has a copy of Super Mario Bros. 3. Prepare to engage. Oh shit! Anyways, the Super Leaf gives Mario not only a new set of ears and a tail, but by pressing the B button, you can shake your tail, which can break blocks or knock out enemies, and mashing the jump button in the air allows you to glide. But what's probably the most defining feature of this ability is its ability to fly. If you're able to gather a full P meter and then mash the jump button, Mario will begin to soar in the air for a limited amount of time before the P meter runs out. Most stages usually have an alternate path or secret to find if you do this, so I like to give it a try whenever I can, and being able to skip a huge chunk of the level is pretty nice. There's also the Tanooki Suit, which basically gives Mario and Luigi the same properties as the Super Leaf, but comes with the added perk of giving you the ability to turn into an invulnerable statue. There's our Frog Suit, which sucks ass on land, but makes for a great way to move around in water levels, and was probably one of the coolest ability, the Hammer Brothers Suit. The ability allows you to throw hammers, which can take out just about anything, and it even comes with a free spray tan with every suit. How nifty. It's unfortunately though one of the more rare power-ups, so finding it won't be easy. There's also more situational ones, like the Kribo Shoe, which you can hop into and safely travel across certain hazards. And lastly, Warp Whistles. These can be found in certain levels and basically act as this game's warp zones. You use it on the map screen and... that sounds kinda familiar. You're taken to the Warp Zone, where you can choose between 3 worlds to go to depending on the whistle you find. And pro tip, if you have 2 Warp Whistles, use the first one to go to the Warp Zone and use another one which takes you straight to World 8. These abilities are super fun to mess around with, and some of them have unique variations like the P-Wing, which upon equipping it on the map screen gives you the perks of Raccoon Mario with an unlimited P-meter, which can allow you to skip an entire level. It is really helpful for the occasional annoying level that pops up every so often. These new abilities are such great additions to Mario's arsenal of power-ups, and it's nice to see that the older ones are able to blend in nicely with the new ones. These power-ups will definitely come in handy when you face off against the plethora of different enemies Bowser has at his command this time around. Almost, if not all the enemies from the first game make their return here, along with dozens of others. Most notably, the game introduced a lot of more series mainstays like Chain Chomps, Spikes, Boos, Big Bertha. There are also cannonballs, fire snakes, rocky wrenches, the fucking sun apparently. Jesus Christ, I'm just surprised that the world hasn't been engulfed in flames. This is a scary as fuck prop! Unlike Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, the single-player mode is a Mario-only adventure. The only time Luigi will be seeing any action is in the 2-player mode, which functions the exact same way as last time, which means his control styles seen in the last games are unfortunately absent. Something that is cool that they added though, is that you're able to face off against one another in a variation of the original Mario Bros. Game, to compete for a player's cards or even their turn. It's a great way to be a dick to each other. Compared to the previous games, Super Mario Bros. 3 definitely amps it up on the difficulty scale, but not to a bullshit degree. For the most part, there feels like a good difficulty curve as you get farther into the game, so challenge feels like it's being brought on naturally. But some levels will definitely give you trouble, whether it's enemy placement, tricky platforming sections, or environmental hazards. On the bright side, there are a good amount of opportunities to earn lives throughout, so it shouldn't be too stressful of a romp. There's a level of difficulty here that doesn't frustrate you, but rather encourages you to keep trying, and that's a good thing. But I wouldn't say it's perfect. I definitely feel like there are some worlds that should have been moved around. World 4 especially feels easier than World 3 for example, so it's weird going back from a world that's harder to one that feels a bit easier than the last one. At the end of each world, you'll head to the kingdom's castle, where a toad pleads for Mario's help in getting back the king's stolen magic wand, and the only way to get them back is for you to infiltrate one of Bowser's many airships. Each airship level is essentially an auto-scroller section, packed with cannons, burners, bullet bills. Bowser is packing quite some heavy artillery here. The commander of each ship will be one of the 7 Koopalings, which serves as the final boss for each world obviously. Most function pretty much the same between one another, with them occasionally jumping around and trying to blast Mario with magic, but some have different gimmicks that make them stand out, like Lemmy using bouncy balls in his battle, or Wendy's annoying as hell ring projectiles. This boss fight was the bane of my existence as a kid, and continues to be. I hate the pattern these stupid rings go in, and I still can't accurately read them to this day. I died so many times in this fight, and it's annoying because no other Koopaling gave me shit. They're not too hard. But anyways, once you defeat each one, they drop the scepter and Mario returns the wand to its rightful owner, turning that king back to normal. After saving them, you'll receive a letter from the princess, which acts as a letter of encouragement in a sense and providing some helpful tips. She'll also include a special item in each letter to make progressing a bit easier. But if it isn't obvious that it was going to happen, after World 7, Bowser reveals that he has kidnapped the princess while you were on your travels, and of course, it's our job to stop him. This, of course, leads you to World 8, where after battling through Bowser's armada of ships and trekking through the last difficult levels this game has to offer, you reach Bowser's castle, which is definitely more impressive than the last 2 times. It's even packed with complimentary lasers. Jesus. After making your way through the abundance of spinning waffles, fireballs, and lava, you finally reach Bowser to duke it out. Bowser definitely isn't the pushover he was last time. This time, he not only shoots fireballs at you, but will straight up try to butt stomp you, so you can't stay in one place for too long. But as you might begin to notice, this attack also breaks the blocks in the middle of the arena, so have him ground pound enough times and he creates his own death trap. Enter the golden door, and you finally rescue Peach, who even tries to fool you at first by saying she's in another castle. But nonetheless, the day is... I guess Halloween came early because this definitely fits into generic creepypasta material. Like, come on, it had to crash right at the end? I'll tell you, my NES is definitely out of its comfort zone right now, being played for so long. Anyways, nonetheless, the day is saved, thus ending this adventure.
I think that even 30 plus years later, it's really hard to find anything substantially wrong with this game. I mean, there's just so much that this game does right, it's astonishing.
Super Mario Bros. 3 was like what other game franchises did upon reaching their 3rd entry, using it as an opportunity to perfect their formula and deliver a game that harkens back to the first game, but on a much grander scope. The levels, graphics, music, control, everything here feels much better and much more grand, creating an adventure that is just bursting with quality. The level design is some of the best the series has ever had, even today. The replayability value is just super strong, and Mario feels fine-tuned to perfection. Yeah, sometimes Mario can feel a tad too floaty and the difficulty may not be the most consistent, but the instances where it proves to be a problem are so far and few between. The game went on to become one of the most popular games on the NES, selling over 18 million copies, which is definitely an achievement to be proud of. Super Mario Bros. 3 manages to just blow its predecessors out of the water, which isn't an easy thing to do since the original Mario Bros. Is such a highly regarded game. As with many others, this is definitely one of my favorite Mario adventures of all time, and I'll easily replay this one in a heartbeat. A perfect fusion between old ideas and new ones, coming together to create a beautifully crafted experience.
And that is going to conclude our Super Mario Bros. 3 review. I honestly had a lot of fun going back to this game and working on this episode. When you have a game that you love playing, it makes working on an episode much more enjoyable and easier. However, next time, it is time to go from 8-bit to 16-bit. With the NES's life cycle slowly coming to an end, it was about time for Mario, as well as many other franchises, to make the jump to the Super Nintendo. And next time, we'll be taking a look at Mario's primary platforming adventure on the system, Super Mario World. When I was looking through all of the games to put on display for the review, Super Mario World was oddly missing from that collection. I could have sworn I had it, but apparently I don't, and must have got lost in the shuffle. But I guess that is something I'll have to add, or in this case, re-add to my collection in the future. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.